Hello, welcome back to another video. I'm Rishad, and today this is the second video in the series of Practical SQL Guide. And today we will be learning about creating tables, the art of creating SQL tables, because everything around database revolves around tables. So we should have a good grasp on how to create tables. We'll learn everything about table designing and all that, but table designing is a bit advanced concept, so we will learn it later. But today we will be learning about the basics of how to create a table, and also putting in constraints like that you get like the foreign keys, some other indexing. These are pretty advanced topic. We will learn about foreign key constraints in the next video, but today it's all devoted to just creating a simple table. And the creation of the tables that I'm going to do through this series will be actually used in all the series. So this is quite a crucial point where we can actually like pile up the things and start our actual journey of practical SQL guide. So the first thing first, today I also want to write a hello world program in SQL. So let's first just do it. So to write an SQL program, we are back in our SQL SSMS, SQL Management Studio, and to write a simple hello world program, you just have to write select single quotation marks hello world. And as simple as that, just run the program by pressing F5 or execute here, and there we go. We've written our first hello world program and it's called as hello world. So this is how you write a hello world program in SQL. Now, talking about creation. So most of the creation jobs or the table creation jobs are handled by the DBAs in big companies, and in smaller companies, if you have that much of grasp and you can design a table, then it's well and good. But most of the time you are just assigned a pre-designed table. You may create it, you may not create it, but today let's just have the understanding of how to create a table. So the first thing, let's move to our SMS. Okay, to create a table, you just have to give this command, which is create table name, and then you start open bracket. It's more like creating a function using a predefined function in SQL, and then you start giving column name 1, and its data type, and if there's any constant, then you put up the constant here. But it's not prescribed, like you should not be putting constant up there, because it's better to explicitly mention the constant if it's a big constant, like if it's a foreign key relation. If there is a check there in the in a column, then you should actually explicitly mention it in the query at the end of the query. Okay, so this is how you go, and at the end you just run it. Okay, so today I will be creating a simple table, and let's just create that table. So give me some time. So we are back, guys. So I was just writing the first table that I'm going to show how to create it. So my plan in this series is to work on all the tables, and I'm pretty much planning to create a small CRM, or customer relation management system, and and we are doing it for a school, let's say, or a college, let's say. So the first table that comes to my mind is the staff table. There are like a lot of other tables that I will introduce later in the next video maybe, but this is the first table that we're going to create, and it's a pretty much simple table. Okay, we have staffs, and yeah, let me just go through it one by one. This is the table name staffs, and most of the time you will find that the table name are always in plural form, not in singular form. So here we have the staffs. Okay, and second we have the primary key. Let me just denote it with writing pk. So it's the primary key, or let me just explain that a primary key is basically a unique column that that helps you identify a row through its uniqueness, or it's just a column through it's a column that helps you to uniquely identify that row. So here we have staff ID, and it is using GUID, which is the unique identifier, if you remember from the last video. So this is the staff ID, and most of the time you will find it like this, that the table name and its singular form plus ID makes the uh, primary key. Now in many cases the primary key are just constructed using two or three more columns, two or three columns at max, but to keep things simple we are just going with just one single column called as staff ID, and it's a unique identifier. Then we have some pretty much usual names like first name, last name, then we have gender, which is a character, first name and last name are strings. Okay, contact number is another string. Then we have email, which is another string, address is string. So pretty much it's a very simple uh, table. So let's begin. There is nothing more than a primary key. Okay, nothing more than a primary key. So I will just write it down. So let's just take this, copy paste, and let's go to our SQL here. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to create table. So you write the command table, then you write the table name, which is staffs. Okay. Then you open the bracket, and at the bracket we just copy paste that, and let me just remove the numbers. So I have removed the numbers and we are left out with only the column names. Okay. So let's begin with the first thing. We have staff ID and it's of type GUID. So we simply write unique uh, identifier. Okay. And since this is a primary key, let's just do it for now. You just write primary key. Okay, and when you write a primary key and there is only single column that identify as the primary key, remember that the primary key will not be null. It cannot be null, and the uniqueness is maintained throughout the database, like you throughout the table. Suppose in this case we have a unique identifier, but suppose let's say the staff ID would have been like a big int or a int. In that case, if one staff ID has what there is one staff ID as 1, then the other would only be 2 or 3. It could not be 1. So when you write primary key, it is there is two things that it follows. It could not be null. Okay, when you are inserting, either you have to follow the rule of uniqueness, otherwise you just let the DB do the trick. Okay, and the other thing is uh, the uniqueness. The first thing is uniqueness, the other thing is it cannot be none. Okay, so you have to give it a value. Then we have first name, which is a string, so let's just use an varchar, and I think let's just for consistency use capital letters. It looks good actually. Let for just consistency give 100 length 100, so it will actually give a 200 length. So it's actually too much, so let's just give 50 characters of space. And yeah, remember to give columns, give commas. 50. So the first name has a character length of 50, so it will take 100 bytes. Okay, and same goes for an varchar. Okay, another time. And varchar, this also let's be 50, and forgetting comma, then we have another comma, then we have gender, which is a character. So let's just go with char. Okay, you don't have to give anything, like it's just a single character. Then we have contact number. Now you might be wondering why I have given contact number as a string, because contact number has, plus signs, +91 +1, and we could also give, hyphen after before mentioning the actual phone number. So for that case, it's better to have a string rather than to have a big int. So it's better to have a string. So we are giving it in varchar, and at max it will go to up to like 15 characters. So for just rounding up purposes, it gives us 20 characters length. Okay, and the email is again in varchar. It takes up to 20 characters, so let's just give 25. Okay, now we are here at address. Now address is uniquely it's a SQL identifier, or SQL what to say keyword. Yeah, SQL keyword. So, and it would happen a lot that the word you are using to identify in column, it might collide with a SQL keyword. So to give it a uniqueness, that to tell the SQL server that you are not using a keyword, rather than you are just mentioning uh, your own name, you have to enclose it with square brackets. In this way, you're basically telling the SQL server that this is not your keyword, rather it's just my own word that I'm using. Okay, let's give it 100 characters. Okay, that's it, and see, there's no error. Now you can do enclose this in all of the column names, just for better understanding. These are not any of the SQL keyword, so you just simply put enclose it, and it's a good practice to enclose column names into column names inside square brackets. It actually gives a much better understanding. And there we are here, almost close to create uh, our first table in SSMS or SQL Server. So let's just hit execute, and we are here at master table. Yeah. So before running the query, you should be very clear in which database you are using. I'm using Rajat SQL DB to create this table. And before I run the table, let me just go to databases. Here you can see my own database, that is Rajat SQL DB. And here, as you can see, there are no tables. There are no tables at all. So once I execute this table query, create table query, you see commands completed successfully, and I refresh it. Okay, and then you will see table. Is supposed to be, there's supposed to be table. Okay, let's just, maybe it isn't, it hasn't been refreshed, I suppose. But the other way to check it is select star from staffs. Okay, let's just do it. Let me just select yeah, this way. Let's just hit run staffs. Okay, it actually has some problem while but rest assured, there is no problem. Our table has been created. It just staffs. Okay, where it did follow, like, did I actually create it in the master table while I was talking? Maybe, I suppose. I did a mistake, I suppose. Tables. Yeah, I actually created it. So let me just drop the table. Let me just drop table. Okay. So it's also easy to drop the table. Drop table staffs. That's it. And I will run it on master database and just execute. Yes, our query has been executed. Now if I refresh it, then you'd see, okay, let me just refresh it. Yeah, we had a system database, then we have masters, then we went to tables, and yeah, the table has been dropped or deleted. And I will talk about dropping tables later. It's not essential right now since we are just learning to create a table. Now I have to rerun this. Okay, okay, okay. Now you just saw what happened, that I mistakenly used master database. Rather, I should have used Rajat SQL DB. So for doing that explicitly, you can do use database. You can just use this, and no matter whether you are at master, whether you are at model, whether you are at MSDB or your own personal DB, once you do it, make sure you explicitly tell the SSMS server that you want to use this database for running this query. Okay, it could be any query, it could be select query, or creating or dropping a table. So no matter what, but once you write this, you are telling explicitly to the SSMS server that you want to use this DB to run this following SQL query. So now let me just we are at master, we are using Rajat SQL DB. So let's just hit execute. Yeah, and now if I go and refresh, you will see tables of Rajat SQL DB. You will see tables as staffs. Yes, we did it. Let's just the use SQL Rajat SQL DB be there, and let me select star from staffs. Okay, and let me just hit run, and here we go. Since we don't have any data into it right now, so we have staff ID, first name, last name, gender, contact number, email and address. Okay, now there's another trick to see what you have created right now, that press on the table name, then on your keyboard press alt F1. I'm talking about Windows keyboards. So here you can see that we have staff ID, first name, last name, gender, contact number, email address, and the types that has been created. Now you can see the first name that we initially give as 50, but it takes as the length as 100. Okay, 50 characters. This is actually the size of the data of the column. Okay, gender 1, and there is no identity element. We will talk about it later again. Then we see a unique thing, that is PK staffs. This actually says about that the staff ID is a primary key ID. Okay, index key is staff ID. Now indexing is a pretty broad subject. It takes a lot of time to study and be educated in it. So we'll talk about it later again. I'm saying it again and again that we will learn it later, because this is just an introductory video to how to create tables. There is a lot of more things in creating table. Okay, now let me just give another brief idea what we're going to do in the next video. That there are a lot of types, there are a lot of columns that are nullable. We don't want them to be nullable. Like first name has to be there, last name could be nullable, no worries, but like in gender we don't want it to be nullable. Okay, contact number we don't want it to be nullable. In email we don't want it, it could be nullable, but address field we don't want it to be nullable. This all comes while altering a table. So remember, in the next video, we are going to create a whole ecosystem of data table, and we are going to learn about altering tables and also putting constraints explicitly at tables. Okay, so this is it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Bye bye.